Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us, especially with the sun's out. Hopefully today you're going to be able to learn some things about the kind of things that we've been working with some customers recently. And certainly what we want to get across today is how the solutions that we've got here with NetBrain can be used to enhance, obviously from our world, the SolarWinds Orion platform and other monitoring solutions from SolarWinds, but this is going to be relevant for any other NMS system as well. So my name is Mark Roberts. I'm going to be presenting today just the start. There's a little bit of slide deck, so apologies for that. I just want to set the scene. And I'm joined by my colleague, Jason. So Jason, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
And so what we're going to be looking at today is a little bit about who Prosperon are. I know from the attendee list that there's a few people that we have not spoken to before. So good morning to you. It's great to see some common names as well that we talk to on a regular basis. So thank you for taking the time out to join us again this morning. So I'm the technical director here at Prosperon. It's my job and role to deliver the professional services team, make sure that technically we are working with our customers and people to identify what you need. And that is very much about the solutions. You have solutions that you need to resolve. You have solutions that you need to deliver to your organization from a technical standpoint. And that's very much what we are here to help with, identifying your challenges and what solutions, what technical delivery, tooling, process will alleviate and help that. We're then going to be going into the live demo. So Jason is going to be providing a visual take through of the integration between SolarWinds and NetBrain, how that kind of dynamic works, the benefits that you will be able to see, and what NetBrain can provide to your organization. We do request questions. This is something that we can sit here and talk to you and see what our world is about, but we really want to make sure that we're aligning ourselves to what you, the customers, but particularly the fact that what you see in your real world, how our solutions can help you deal with those problems that you are encountering, as I say. So if there is anything that you see, if there's any aspects around the functionality that you would like to ask about, please use the GoToMeeting question session, post it up, and we will answer those towards the end. So Prosperon, who are we? Well, you can see that we are a long-running company. We have been running for 15 years now. Very believable, let me tell you. And so from that point of view, we have been very much partnered with SolarWinds, and we have a number of ancillary solutions. This is all about us finding solutions that provide, as I say, those answers to those common everyday problems. We were very proud to be named the first UK partner for NetBrain. We are their preferred professional services delivery organization to bring the solution to this region, and you will hopefully get to see those benefits today. You will be able to get to see the way that it fits in to your workflow and the functionality that it can provide. So we, as I say, have a technical team that is there to provide consultancy, to provide guidance, but also to deliver professional services, to install, to implement, provide training, and that is something that is our core ethos. Everything that we do as an organization is all about making sure that technically we are able to fully support and deliver that to our customers. We also provide direct support. So if you have an issue, if you have questions on how you achieve something, then we are there to provide that information and guidance as well. We have a number of trained engineers. So from a SolarWinds point of view, the SCP, and Jason, you have all of the NetBrain certification and exams that qualify for you to be a true NetBrain engineer. From a services point of view, as I mentioned, this is covering the full spectrum. Clearly, in terms of what a monitoring platform is there to provide and what NetBrain is there to provide, it covers a number of avenues across your organization. And so we want to make sure that when you're talking about how this fits into your service desk, to your help desk, to your ITSM platform, your workflows as it goes through those layers, we want to make sure that the solutions that we provide are going to complement and support each of those. So it's very much about working together, which is why we do an awful lot of systems integration. as represented by the custom API coding there, to make sure that all of this solution framework can talk and work together with best effect. So why did we partner with NetBrain? Well, we saw a gap. We saw the fact that we have a monitoring solution and a number of features within the platforms that we have are able to provide really great insight into how something is working. What we didn't have is that kind of full triage solution. So using the capabilities of identification of monitoring, using something which is going to provide your documentation and is going to allow your kind of gurus. There's always those people in an organization which have all of that key knowledge. And so NetBrain very much allows you to bring your documentation. If any of you are using Visio for your network schematic diagrams, if you've not seen NetBrain before, you are going to love what you see today. It is a full replacement for that. It's interactive, it's dynamic, it's live. And so bringing that sort of platform together, you can use it for architectural, you're going to see how you can use it for troubleshooting, just for your pure documentation and visual representation of your environment. This is very much what we wanted to bring on board with, say, the NetBrain solution. This fits above and below what you do in your monitoring sphere. It's going to work with your change management. So as we kind of move into this area, you can certainly see that there are a number of key features around this. So that first thing about documentation, what is the standard? What is your compliance? What is your framework for your infrastructure? When you are then in a situation where things aren't working as you expect, or that there's change taking place, or you've got that security incident to review, then you know what your starting point is. And so we are very much about, as I say, bringing information together, using a number of protocols and techniques to collect that data and centralize it for review, for analysis. So where you're multiple teams, you're going to have those top level gurus, those tier 3, I'm going to say tier 3 because they like to put themselves at that level, the tier 2 and the tier 1 engineers. We want to be able to empower those people. We want to be able to give them the capability to really bring their function to the fore to the best effect. And we'll certainly be seeing how NetBrain can provide that. So just got a little bit of interactivity just to make sure you're all here, and also want to use this as a guide. We would like to understand what people are attending these webinars for. So you should have on your screen a poll which you can submit your questions, and the question here is, what does your network triage procedure look like? From our point of view, it is just kind of getting a steer as to how mature it is, what pain points you have, because as I say, this webinar today is very much going to be in line with how we can assist, how we can improve, and how we can strengthen that whole function within your organization. So I'll just let that run through for a second. I can see that many of you actually have service desks. So that's a big one for us. We work with customers on a regular basis on how their service desks work, and there's very much the difference between what are kind of process layers. They're looking at an issue, they're saying, oh, this is the network team, I'm going to raise a case on behalf of the network team, compared to that frontline service desk taking that issue and working it and collecting the data so that when they pass that over, they're passing that over with really good information and saving a lot of time and effort for the skilled people to have to go through that time-consuming process. So I say that's really good to see in terms of that. And just a few of you are in that kind of upper mature category of automation, which is really good to see. That's where we want to take you. That's the functionality that we're really wanting to get across in this webinar today. So thank you for taking the time to do that. So the first kind of subject here is the troubleshooting diagnostics. And what, as a very basic, so please forgive me in terms of what we're demonstrating here, but this is clearly the common scenario. That issue detected, that's going to be your SolarWinds platform. For those users that are in the session today that are SolarWinds Orion owners. Could be any other NMS, it really does not matter. From that issue detection, your monitoring solution is identifying that a device has gone down, that you've got a protocol change on your dynamic routing, that you've got things occurring that's affecting service, performance, and availability. So from that point, that scenario, what then happens? Well, somebody needs to get assigned to it. Somebody then needs to investigate it. Then it gets resolved and then gets validated. Now, some organizations, that could be one singular person. In other organizations, a whole raft of people could be involved in that function. And so from that, then it comes really down to that whole efficiency. If we have the ability to capture information and make that a journey an efficient one, then this is going to obviously improve things. What we often see here is that the issue was detected. By the time that somebody comes along and investigates it, the issue has gone away. That scenario no longer exists. The device is up, the performance is good, that website is responding in a timely manner, all of those kind of things. So this is a real pain point. And we go on this cycle of loops where issues can manifest themselves for months with no true resolution. So what the solution we are putting forward to presenting today is this situation where we can identify that we have visibility of these issues sooner, and we are then able to investigate and resolve these in a much more timely manner. And this is all about bringing that time to resolution down, time to restore, whichever you want to use here. So this is very much, as I say, about bringing the visibility, the understanding, and the capability to resolve it in a much quicker time frame. Now, clearly, all of that turns into benefits to the organization, both in terms of usage and cost factors. From a security standpoint, how does this fit into the landscape? Well, again, what we're going to be demonstrating in the demo is how we can identify issues. So again, we could have a trigger point. We could have that situation where there's a malicious attack. It could be the fact that we've had a configuration change which is out of compliance and change management process that's led to issues. And the stats are very clear on this. The majority of outages and causes of degradation and service loss are change in the environment. So what we want to be able to do is identify, as I said, what the norm is. How should it be? When we have an understanding, when we have that mapped out, when we have the topology of the infrastructure documented, this is what it looks like today. Actually, this is what it also looked like yesterday and the day before and the day before that, going back many months. We can then do this review process. We can identify how things have changed, what configuration changes have taken place, what output and impact they could have had, and also bringing external data into a single screen. When we have that single screen, when we are bringing data in from SolarWinds, when we're bringing data in from IPS and syslog servers and whatever else it may be, and then pushing that across and through to your help desk platform as a ticket and enriching all of that information and having a framework to share that, we're now in a position, as I say, where you're empowering your team from the tier one all the way up to the really most capable and skilled engineers. And at the end of all of that, giving you that framework for analysis. So what can we learn? How did this happen? What can we change? And what can we build into your process for a continual improvement? And that's a very big thing for every organization, is that continual improvement drive. Okay, so we just got another quick poll before we jump into the live demo. Jason, I apologize, I'm a few minutes over. So this is a question on what challenges that you feel that you struggle with the most. So I know this is a question we asked before. We're kind of re-asking it again because this gives us saying that steer about where those pain points are, so we can continue to focus on those for our customers. So we've got a couple jumped out into the lead, limited visibility, out of date, inaccurate network diagrams. Well, that second one is no surprise. It was the leader last time, and it's looking as if it's going to be the leader this time, because again, Visio diagrams are inherently static. They're great today, not so great tomorrow when a new device, when a new protocol, when a new routing structure has been applied. And so this is, as I say, the real benefit of having a solution like NetBrain that is constantly being updated automatically and is a live environment. Okay, Jason, I'm going to hand over to you because you're going to get everyone's interest far greater than I ever can in a slide deck. So if you would like to share your screen and go into your demo.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Jason Woods, and I'm a network automation engineer here at Prosperon Networks. Today, I'm going to be taking you over the NetBrain platform, showing you some of the benefits this can bring to your business, as well as how we can integrate your existing tools into NetBrain platform as well, and how we can reduce the escalation of tickets in your environment by empowering your first line network engineers. So if you're not already familiar with NetBrain, NetBrain is a network automation platform which provides you with end-to-end visibility across the whole of your hybrid network environment while automating tasks across the whole of the IT workflow. This significantly improves mean time to repair and collaboration between teams when troubleshooting. So, the main feature I'm going to discuss today, the first feature I'm going to discuss is dynamic maps. So as a network engineer, in my experience, the most tedious and time-consuming jobs is network diagrams and documentation. So traditionally, we need to go onto a number of different devices, run a number of show commands, and then we can start manually creating our diagrams and documentation. So obviously, today with the introduction of software-defined networking and virtual networks, and now, it's becoming increasingly possible for engineers to be 100% sure that their diagrams and documentations are up to date. So with NetBrain, we can completely take this pain away with dynamic maps. So once all our devices have been discovered in the NetBrain platform, there's a number of ways that we can start creating our network diagrams. And one of the ways is by using the visual search engine in NetBrain. And this is pretty much like a Google search of a network. So from here, we can search by device, name, IP address, MAC address, location, or even part of a configuration will bring up the relevant devices. So from here, I'm just going to search for our devices in London here. So here you can see in the left-hand pane, we have all our devices at our London site here. And I'm just going to add the top device and place this onto our dynamic map. So here you can see we have our first device on our diagram here. And before I actually start extending the diagram, let me just show you a lot of the important information we can get as well. So here we can see a lot of the property information for this particular device. So we can see, for instance, the serial number, the model. If we scroll down here as well, we can see any routing protocols that may be enabled on the device as well. If we click on the interface tab here, we can get all the interface information for this particular device here as well as the module information. So obviously, in the case you're logging a third-party call, call with a third-party vendor rather, you have all this information here, touch of a button. So what else can we see here? So we can also see the full running configuration of this device here. As well as snippets. So if we want to see, part of a configuration, this could also be reflected here as well. We have the layer 2 and layer 3 topology of the directly connected neighbors for this device. And here we can see some data table information as well, root table, ARP table, MAC address table, neighbor table, etc. We can also see here that we can see we can get some popular show commands for this particular device as well. So just at a touch of a button here, we can get all that information as well. So that's not what I want to show you. So let's start building out our network diagram. So once we have our first device on here, to add a directly connected neighbor or neighbors, all we need to do is click on the plus sign here. And from here, we can either show you in a layer 2 or a layer 3 topology. For this demonstration, I'm going to show you a layer 3. And here we can see that we have one neighbor for this device, and we can just quickly add that onto that dynamic map here. So once again, all we need to do is click on the plus sign again, and then we can just add the other two neighbors here. And again, just click on the plus sign, and we can just add the neighbors. So as you can see, we're not having to go onto the devices, run a number of show commands, everything, NetBrain is going out, it's checking the routing table, it's checking CDP neighbors, LLDP neighbors. So all this information is being provided, so none of this stitching, everything here is done dynamically. So there was no manual stitching involved here at all. So here you can see we're actually going out now to the MPLS cloud, and we can actually see our devices here on the other side. And we can just keep adding our neighbors as well. So just to let you know, so we have this MPLS cloud here. Basically, so this is all done dynamically in NetBrain. So this allows us to seamlessly run a to B path across our network here. And basically, the MPLS cloud, this is worked out dynamically by using the routes advertised to and from the client edge devices. So anyway, I'm just going to keep adding the neighbors here. And we're almost there now. We're just going to add the last ones. Okay, so we now have all our devices on our dynamic map here. To tidy this up, all we need to do is right click, select auto layout, and here we can see we have a number of options here. So I'm just going to select the downward tree, but we do have a number of different options available for your layout here. So once we once we have the style we want, we can still move devices about if needed. And if we scroll in here, we can get some more information. So for instance, we can see some IP information here as well, some interface information. We can see the routing protocols, and we can see some multicast information here as well. So what we would do from here is that we'd actually save this dynamic map. And basically what we can do then is sort of set this scheduled benchmarks of this network diagram. So this will allow any devices added or decommissioned from a network to also be reflected on your dynamic map dynamically. Okay, so now we have a diagram created. All we need to do here is if we click on map, we can actually export this into Visio, into Word, or onto an image file as well. So, so for this demonstration, I'm just going to show you how we can export to Word. Okay, so once we export this into Word, we'll get a diagram created, so a document created here. Sorry, Mark, are you able to see the document? Sorry about this.
Nope, I can't see the documents because you're sharing your window, your browser window, so you just need to do share.
Yeah, maybe 1 second, let me just share.
That's okay. So while you're just getting that set up, I have a question from Emmanuel. So Emmanuel, you asked, are you able to add as well as adding neighbors manually, are you not able to do this automatically? Absolutely. So what Jason has showed you here is the speed at which you can build a map up by knowing the kind of segment structure for your environment. But you can very, very easily create a kind of site map. You can create a subnet definition that says, okay, put all of those devices on a map automatically, and NetBrain will auto define the connectivity between them. So absolutely, to answer that question, we've just shown it manually, but it could be fully automated.
Okay, Mark, you're able to see, yeah, so you're able to see that document now? We
can now, yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. So yeah, so here we can see that basically just by creating a dynamic map in NetBrain, we can now see that we've created created a document here just on the back of that. So here we can see that we have a header of the company logo here. We have the issue control table. We have a contents page here as well. We can keep scrolling down here. So we have a copy of the network diagram you've created in a Visio format, alongside the network diagram you created. We have all the running configurations from the devices backed up from that point in time as well. We have all the asset information for all the devices on your dynamic map as well. And here we can have the layer 3 information as well in an Excel spreadsheet. Obviously, if we'd have overlaid layer 2 information, we would have also got this information there as well. So as you can see, a very handy document indeed, for compliance reasons, or, to refer back to at a later time. So very handy indeed. And obviously this was just created by, creating our dynamic map here. So when we're normally creating our Visio diagrams, or if whatever other application you're using. We'd normally like to overlay some information on, to these documents as well, just to let us know maybe, what VLANs are running, what routing protocols are running, etc. And we can do this in NetBrain using something called a data view. So a data view in NetBrain allows us to overlay information onto our dynamic map without overwhelming the document itself. So for instance, if we want to see devices which are currently running BGP on your network, all we need to do is select the tab, apply that. And this is going to go out and it's checking all your devices to see which devices are running BGP. And here you can see clearly here that we have 3 devices on your network that are running BGP that are connected to our MPLS cloud here. If we look down, we can see some legend information with the autonomous system numbers as well as some recommended actions for troubleshooting issues with BGP. So just to let you know that all these data views come out of the box from NetBrain as well as the recommended actions here. So another really cool data view is the overall health check here as well. So I'm just going to apply that. And this is something that we can run either from cached or live data. And basically what this is going to do, this is going to check your network diagram and let you know if any devices, if you're having any latency issues or having any performance issues on your network, this can be overlaid onto your dynamic map. So this is actually going out, it's going to check for CRC errors on the interfaces, bandwidth utilization, input-output errors, CPU usage on your devices as well. So if we look down here, we can actually see that we have a golden baseline alert on one of our devices here. So what a golden baseline is in NetBrain is basically NetBrain monitors numerous variables on your network. So if anything deviates from the normal state, this will be reflected on your, on your dynamic map. So here you can see, it's not a major issue. It's just letting you know that it's deviated to 3%. So here we can see that, on the normal pools, it's normally running at 2%. So it's just letting you know that it's slightly deviated here. These can be manually adjusted, if you only want to be notified when there's been a significant increase, in the variable. So as you can say, something like this is very handy, if you're raising, if just after completing a change and you want to see maybe what impact this has had on the network, this is a good place to come just to, to see if there's been any deviations on the network. So as Mark was mentioning earlier as well, the really cool thing about NetBrain is how we can integrate our other systems via RESTful API. So for instance, if we want to see devices on our network that's, have, incidents or changes associated to them, we can, open up a data view here from our ITSM system, and this can be reflected onto our dynamic map. So in our case, obviously, with SolarWinds, if we want to see devices on our network which currently have SolarWinds alerts, we can just click on the SolarWinds alerts tab here on the data view. And this is going to go out and check all the devices which currently have alerts in your SolarWinds instance. So here you can see clearly that we have 5 devices in total which currently have alerts. And if we actually click on the active alerts, we can actually see what the the problems are in SolarWinds as well. So as you can see, we haven't got to jump around all different applications. NetBrain can provide and display all this information in a single pane of glass via a RESTful API. And obviously this integration works both ways. So if I just open up our SolarWinds instance, here we can see on our London dashboard here that we have a NetBrain dynamic map integrated into the dashboard itself. And from here we can see that we have all our London devices, and we can actually start, if we're troubleshooting in NetBrain, for instance, we can actually run everything from here in a single pane of glass. So obviously this API integration can work both ways. So if we just want to overlay, I think we're running EIGRP in here. So here we can clearly see that we have 4 devices on our network here, which are currently running EIGRP.
So Jason, what I've just seen there is kind of what I kind of introduced at the beginning, this integration, this capability of data from SolarWinds being displayed in NetBrain. What you're now showing is actually we can do it both ways. We can embed, in this case, we've got a site group definition, which is a common thing that we will put in place for our SolarWinds customers. So we can identify whether there's a remote office issue, whether that's related to kind of connectivity, performance degradation. And what you've got here is actually an embedded map from NetBrain that you can fully interact with. You don't need to log into NetBrain to perform these tasks, to perform these diagnosis tasks, to perform this data analysis. Is there any restriction on capability of what we can achieve here? And is there a need for us to even to go into the NetBrain GUI directly?
Yeah, no, as I say, Mark, everything here can be, everything that can be done in NetBrain can be done from SolarWinds as well in a single pane of glass using this embedded map.
Fantastic. So that just a huge power. Different users are going to have different capabilities, different preferences perhaps, and so you've got both of the best of both worlds catered for. I've got a question related to that from Stefanos here. So is the integration with SolarWinds out of the box based on a ready-made connector? So this is, the answer is yes. We have taken the framework of what was provided by NetBrain and extended it and added our own capabilities. We know SolarWinds literally inside out. So our ability to kind of extend and really tune this to customer environment. What do you need it to do? How do you need to do it? Presenting information from different areas. Jason, you showed alerts, but this could be essentially any data from the Orion database, couldn't it?
Yes, correct. Yeah, so if you want to see maybe vulnerabilities, which are showing in SolarWinds, this could obviously be overlaid. So anything, basically, that anything in SolarWinds, any information you've acquired to be embedded into NetBrain, that's not a problem. That can be overlaid as well, yes.
Okay, fantastic. Crack on, my friend.
Okay, cheers. So as I say, you can see here what we can do with data views, and with seeing, how we can create our network documentation as well. So how about troubleshooting in NetBrain? So how can we take the best practices from the likes of Juniper, Checkpoint, Palo Alto, etc. How can we put these maybe into an executable runbook, to enable maybe a less experienced engineer that doesn't necessarily know the steps in troubleshooting specific issues, but nonetheless, can run the relevant commands, gather the technical evidence, and then maybe escalate if required. And for this in NetBrain, we can use something called a runbook template. So a runbook in NetBrain is basically a set of operational steps which enable you to execute step-by-step workflows for network data collection and troubleshooting. These are fully customizable as well, and we can see that we have loads of these that come out of the box with NetBrain for troubleshooting particular issues. So as I said, they're customizable as well. So obviously this can enable experienced engineers to create these bespoke playbooks for maybe for less experienced engineers. So obviously helping them find that needle in a haystack when troubleshooting specific issues. So if we can just say, just to give you an example, if we're having an issue, for instance, say a voice issue in our London office, what we can do here is just open up a dynamic map of our London office here, and here we can see all our devices here. So what we can do here is basically for this demo, we've created a runbook called just some basic checks that I want to run. So here we can just basically select the runbook and then add this. So here we've got some basic checks here just for troubleshooting voice issues. So if we want to just see pull some data here, so we're checking, just running some checking for MSS values, checking that the protocols are enabled on all the devices. Here we're checking for the MTU value, and here on this node here we're actually checking for CRC information. So basically what these two nodes are here, these are something that are called a QApp. So a QApp in NetBrain is a internal application that goes out to all your devices simultaneously, runs the relevant commands, gathers the data, analyzes that data, and based on the results of the analysis will produce an action on your dynamic map. Okay, so we'll just wait for this to finish running, and then we can see the information provided. So here we can see that we currently have no CRC errors on any of our devices interfaces here. We can check for the MTU value here as well, and we can see that the MTU value is consistent as well on all the interfaces. And if we check the basic checks here as well, we can see that all our devices are running BGP, EIGRP here, and we can see that all the bandwidth utilization, we're not getting any errors here. However, we can clearly see that we have an issue with the MSS value on this device. So this is where, you know, collaboration comes into play. So from here, we can just send a message to our second line or third line. So I'm just going to send this to myself, and then we can just say issue with MSS on LON R03.
Jason, you could be sending this to me, yes? When I receive this,
sure.
I literally get access to everything that you've done, all of your results, all of your layout, as you can see on the screen.
Yeah, that's correct. So once I press OK here, you can see here that we'll be notified, you know, with a message. And basically, what this will enable you to do. So Mark, for instance, will get this message, and then he can continue troubleshooting if required. He can have get all the data from the, you know, so they can get all the see all the analysis here as well. So we can see what's already happened. So basically, we haven't got to, you know, re-go over, you know, running CLI commands, etc. As you can see here as well, we get some recommended actions. So if we wanted to add, you know, additional commands onto this runbook, this could be added on here as well, and we can go ahead and run these commands here as well. So as you can see, you know, runbooks, I mean, very helpful indeed, you know, and obviously to help them, to help the first level engineers, you know, in troubleshooting, it's really, really helpful indeed. So obviously we've seen what we can do with runbooks, but, you know, sometimes we may not want to go through this whole procedure of maybe, you know, having to run a runbook when troubleshooting. We may just want to check for a certain variable. So we might just want to check for maybe CRC errors on all your interfaces, for instance. So what we can do here in NetBrain, we can run something called an instant queue app. So an instant queue app basically lets you check for a particular variable on, you know, on your network. So here, for instance, if we just wanted to check for the MSS value, all we'd need to do is search for that variable, and then all we need to do is just drag and drop that onto our dynamic map here. And I would just, yeah, so I'm just going to get this from the baseline data just to save a bit of time. And here we can see this is going to go out, and it's going to go into gather all this information for this particular variable and display this onto our dynamic map as well. So here you can see once again that we've got all the information from the devices for the variable, and we can also see that we can see this variable is incorrect. What we can also do here is we can actually, if we want it to be, you know, if we had like 100 devices checking here, we might want to see this clearly visualized. So what we can do here as well, we can say that if the MSS value is not equal to the standard value of 536, then we want to be notified in the way of an alert. And this will be overlaid as well onto your dynamic map.
So you said, I know you said that, but just to reinforce that, some maps can be huge, can't they, Jason? And so being able to visualize that and bring that as a kind of RAG display just gives immediacy to information. Yeah,
that's right. So as you can see, we can see here clearly now that you know, that you can see this visually on your dynamic map, as well as that as well, we can actually see the alerts down here as well. We can see that we have an alert on that device as well showing here. So as you say, if you just want to do, you know, a quick dirty search for a particular variable, we just easily just run an instant queue app here. So so yeah, as we were saying earlier with regards to runbooks as well. So, you know, another you know, so a lot of people say to us, like a lot of customers like to check for you know, for the compliance checks, for instance. So what we can do here as well is with the runbooks, we can actually So I have one here. So we can just check for compliance as well on your network. So if you want to see, just add this runbook. So you can see here that we just, if we want to check all our devices or maybe certain devices to see if they're compliant on your network, then we can just run this compliance check runbook as well. So here you can see we have a number of nodes here that's going to go out, check for, run a telnet check, check for AAA authentication, check that the password encryption's in place, and here, for instance, check for community strings to make sure that we don't have weak community strings on our network as well. And obviously, all this information can be pulled from either, directly from the CLI or from our other tools such as SolarWinds via the API here as well. And yeah, and then we can just go out and basically, just run all our compliance checks here as well. So here we can see, for instance, we have some insecure community strings on some of the devices. So we might want to, integrate this with our network configuration manager in SolarWinds to go off and rectify this issue. Okay. So, so I've showed you sort of how we troubleshoot in NetBrain. Sometimes though, we might not want to, you might have an instance where we don't want to necessarily pull up the diagram. We might just want to, just run maybe an A to B path. So, if we get a user who's complaining about they're unable to access, a specific website, for instance, we can run an A to B path here as well. So from here, for instance, if we have the source IP address, and we're provided with a destination IP address here. What we can do, we can import this in here. We can check unidirectional or bidirectional. So for this demonstration, I'll just show you one way. And we have a few different options here. And if we click on the settings tab, we can just do a generic trace. Or if you want to be port specific, we can select TCP, UDP, or we can select about 100 different other protocols here to check as well. So I'm just going to check this on TCP. I'm going to do a live trace, and I'm going to check this on port 80. Okay, and then all we need to do is select path. So what's happening here now is NetBrain is going to calculate the path from point A to point B, and it's going to take into account access lists, routing table, policy-based routing, VRF information, and anything that can affect the hop of the next, the packet on your network. So here you can see this is going out now, and you can also see the the ingress egress interfaces in use here. And as well, if we was if we had layer 2 devices on here, this can also be reflected on here as well. So as you can see, we don't need to jump on the devices, run show IP routes, for instance. We have NetBrain here doing this on our behalf. Okay, so this is almost done. Okay, let's just minimize that. Okay, so it looks like we have, we may have an issue here. Let's just check that.
So immediately I can see on that is that we've got a kind of split routing. Now, is that something that should be in place?
So this is just so this is letting us know that we have a multi-path. So this is doing equal so basically it's doing equal load balancing across your network there. So
that's by design then. Excellent.
Yes, it is. And as you see, so I've just clicked on it, it's moved away from here, but as you can see on this device here, we're not managing to get to this endpoint. And if we just check the log file here, that we can see that there's an issue with an access list blocking the path to the endpoint here. So what we can do from this device, we can, if we want to verify this, we can jump on via the CLI command, or we can just check the configuration file here as well. And from here, we can just check the name of the access list. And here we can clearly see here that we have, this is being blocked via an access list. So obviously, then once again, we can escalate in NetBrain either via a message, or we can actually email, send an email to the next team as well from here. So as you can see, a very handy feature for troubleshooting any A to B path issues. So yeah, all very cool. So the next feature I want to discuss in NetBrain is the just-in-time automation. So with just-in-time automation, basically this enables us, so we can trigger basically an automatic diagnosis of a problem at the point in time the issue occurs. So, if we're having intermittent issues on our network at 3 o'clock in the morning, and when we're coming into the office, at 9 o'clock, the issue disappears. Obviously, this is something that can be very frustrating. So with NetBrain, we can set up an alert either internally or in our case externally in SolarWinds. So with what we've done here, we've set up an alert to basically notify us when we have an issue with any routing here. So if we just click on Manage Alerts here, we can see, let's just search here. So here we can see that we have an alert set up here to basically notify us if we have an issue with any routing issues with EIGRP or OSPF. And basically what this will do, this will make an API call to our NetBrain instance. And from here, if we check the System Automation Manager here, we can basically see what's happened. So here we can see, so I'll just check the bottom one here, that we have an issue that was generated from SolarWinds, and it looks like we had an EIGRP issue here. So what NetBrain will do then, it will create a map of the problem area as well as a snapshot of your network in the way of runbooks. So here we can see that at that point in time the issue happened, NetBrain went out and automated this runbook of show commands for us, to help us troubleshoot this issue when we, arrive at 9 o'clock in the morning. So here we can, if we can keep going down, and we can see, if we keep scrolling down here, so we can see here that we had an issue with the K value on the metrics here. We can keep going down, see if there was any other issues identified. But what we can also do is we can check the syslog here as well. And what we can do is we can view the actual syslog at that point of time and all. So what it's checking here, it's checking, we haven't got to look for that needle in a haystack. When troubleshooting this issue, we can actually see here that we have the information at that point of time in the syslog as well. So, okay, let's check the syslog here on this other device. So as you say, this is something that can come in, very handy indeed.
Yeah. So, yeah. Jason, what you kind of shown there, just to be very clear for everyone, that's got what, 8 or 9 steps in it, that runbook?
So, yes.
Orion identified that there was a neighbor change. Yeah, that's his monitoring function. It then passed across dynamically a trigger alert event that caused NetBrain to run this runbook at what, 10:16 a.m. So obviously you did this morning preparing for this demo.
Yes.
So you triggered an event at 10:16 this morning, and it captured it at that point in time. I think that's correct. Saw under ERGP AS, or was it under K-Wait?
Yes,
you had 2 entries there.
Yeah, so basically, so when I come in, so when I checked it again, we just wanted to see if this issue is still live. And obviously we can see this.
It is. Yeah,
we can see this issue is still live. Yeah. So,
and then to reinforce what you showed before, you could then take this and share this map, show the results of it, and put your findings in. You as a tier 1 engineer would say, okay, you've analyzed this. Your documentation plan within here is giving you guidance to say, if you see this value, this is an issue and you need to speak to so-and-so. So all of that in the runbook means that that service desk team are able to process this really efficiently, intelligently. So they may be going straight to the tier 3 engineer or to Steve, because he's the person that's responsible for this function in the environment. Is that true?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, and as I say, yeah, down here below as well, we have, we can see that we've had a number of show commands that's happened at that time. We can actually go in, run this live again, and obviously we can compare the two configurations, the two outputs here as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, very useful.
And that comparison is not just the kind of within this runbook, it's also that historic data that's been captured as well in many cases as well. So yeah, love it.
Yeah. So as I say, another really cool feature of this as well is, obviously this, we're showing you here what we can do with SolarWinds, but obviously this can also be with your, your intrusion detection system, for instance. That can raise an alert in NetBrain as well, and obviously we can, define a predefined runbook to get, the steps available, to check the actual issue there as well. So, sorry, Mike, did you want to say something there?
Oh yeah, sorry, I was on mute. So this is kind of doing that monitoring. You showed a RGOP. It could be your IPS, the fact that we've had a security issue, a change management. So one of the runbooks that we have that I know we've done for other organizations here is that your change management is going and doing a baseline and saying, okay, we're going to make a change at this time. Go and do a baseline, capture all the data before you make the change. With a change management function in NetBrain, we can then apply the change automatically, and then we run the same routine again to see what the results of that were. Are we up and running? Have we got communication? Have we got the protocols doing what they should do? Great.
Yep, that's great.
Jason, thanks very much for that. We have some questions come in.
Sure.
So if we just work through some of these here, if that's okay. So we had one from, again, Manuel, I think. Oh no, so we've answered that, sorry. So one of the questions we had from Neil was all the info in the doc added automatically? So I think this is right at the very beginning when you showed that Word doc. So yes, this is something. That document can be, is predefined. It took you a few moments to generate that document, and also you can change that document layout, can't you? You can define what content you want to display within it and how.
Yeah, exactly. So if you wanted to see, for instance, devices that were doing redistribution on your network, that can also be overlaid onto the onto your dynamic map and obviously onto your diagram as well. Fantastic. So basically, that diagram is created just on the back of you, creating your dynamic map. Yes.
Yep. Okay. Full control, but the sounds excellent. Actually, Neil's got another question. Can you create your own data views? So I think this is. Yeah, go on, go for it if you know the answer.
Yeah, sure. So for this, we use something in NetBrain called a parser file. So basically, we can overlay any information that you want to view. That can be done into a data view. Yes.
Okay, that I think leads into a question from Chris. So so far it looks like all Cisco devices. What support for other vendors? So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so all the major vendors, so HP, Juniper, have yet to come across a vendor that's not supported yet. But yeah, so basically what NetBrain uses is something called variable mapping. So basically this will, if there is a relevant variable, for instance, MSS, then obviously that can be, the same variable will be run on a Juniper device or a Checkpoint device. So yeah, so this works, as I say, our demo environment here is predominantly Cisco, but yes, this will work on any of your other vendors. Yep.
Yeah, so there's two distinct parts to that. Yes, any vendor device that's supported, if there's a management protocol interface for it, so CLI, SNMP, etc. We can go and collect and manage that device in NetBrain. But secondly, as Jason said, if you're putting up that MSS, it doesn't matter if you've got Junipers, if you've got Extremes, if you've got Cisco devices all on the map, you drag and drop MSS onto that screen and it will automatically work out how it communicates with the device, send the necessary command for that device and model to return the results and display it. So it's all abstracted. You don't need to know that. And that's why, as I keep saying about this empowerment of lower level people and the complexities of different command sets, you don't need to know it. It's all provided in the interface. Okay, so we've got a question on With the improvements that have been made to SolarWinds Orion maps, are there any benefits of having NetBrain? Well, hopefully there, Colin, you've seen the fact that this is not just a mapping solution. Clearly, one of its big strengths is the way that it presents data in visual form, but the documentation, the troubleshooting, the diagnosis, the automation journey is providing capabilities over and above what just a standard visual map is going to provide. I think we've answered Emmanuel's question actually. I see you can run show commands from within NetBrain. Are you able to run other commands and make changes to the config of one or few devices using NetBrain? So there's a change management module, isn't there?
So everything would need to be done via the change management module in NetBrain. That's correct. So you can't you can't make any changes. All you can do is just basically run show commands, so it won't allow you to make any changes unless you do this and the change is approved within the change module.
Fantastic.
Gotcha.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm just reading. So Eddie's got this is answered or confirmed. Is NetBrain open source? Is it an added package that can be procured via Prosperon only? Okay, so this is a vendor solution, so it's not open source. There are a licensing model associated to it, subscription based, and so we can certainly speak to you in more detail, Eddie. But yes, it can absolutely integrate with Firepower. So if you're using Firepower, then there are a number of options available for us to integrate and share data. As I said at the very beginning, we are demonstrating this based on the SolarWinds solution because we are SolarWinds resellers, we are NetBrain resellers, and clearly it makes good sense for us. But if you have other solutions, whether it's your ITSM, whether it's your CMDB, your help desk, Jason mentioned a number of times from the security angle and this ability to create that security response structure, then essentially anything that is able to call an API, a RESTful JSON API, or indeed vice versa, we can integrate with that, then we can create that connectivity and automation and integration. Okay, fantastic. Well, that was a whirlwind hour. I think I've gone through every question that I will review them. If there's any that I have missed, apologies, I will reach out to you directly and make sure that I do answer all of your questions for you along with Jason. So Jason, thank you very much for a great demo. Thank you to everyone who attended today. It's very much appreciated. We hope that you got some benefit from it. If you do have any follow-up questions, please reach out to us. Be more than happy to take you through a one-on-one demo and go through very much specifics as it relates to your requirements. So thanks very much. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.